What's up, English Challengers? Welcome to the second episode of the Challenge Yourself series. The purpose of this series is basically to push myself as a content creator on YouTube, but also as an individual in general, because I always want to improve myself and get better at something. So that's why today we're going to talk about how to focus. What I mean with focus is the ability to control your attention and direct it to or on something that you want to achieve, something you want to improve. For example, it could be your 30-minute sessions, right? And so in a way, this ability is essential if you want to master something. But the thing is, as Daniel Coleman has pointed out in his book Focus, surprise, surprise, there is a general attention decline among children and adults. So after reading this book, I was trying to think about how I can apply certain things on language learning. And so today I want to share with you 5 tips on how to focus. Tip number 1, narrow down your priorities. Sounds straightforward, but it has always been one of my biggest issues. I'm the type of guy who has way too many interests, so I play League of Legends competitively, well, as competitive as it can get here in little Switzerland, and it was like 3 years ago? I don't know. But either way, I spent way too much time on League of Legends. I played the guitar in a metalcore band back in the days, like for a couple of years. That was a great time, had a blast, but sadly I had to stop because I wanted to focus on something else. So they just released their EP, so if you want to check it out, here we go. I skated for about 7 years, almost every single day. I loved drawing and obviously learning languages, and now the problem is I kind of neglected my studies just a tiny bit. Eventually I even stopped learning languages because I did too many things, and I got kind of depressed because I didn't feel like I was getting really good at something. So I spent a lot of time thinking. Mày tối ngày có biết chơi không à? Ngồi trước computer nguyên ngày à? Thiệt tình á. Đi tìm việc làm đi làm để kiếm tiền đi. Mắc cỡ quá đi. You get the point. Tip number 1 is to pick 1, max 2 things, priorities that you want to spend your time and attention on, and try to improve those skills, those things as much as possible, because who knows, those things might be very important for your future career. Let's move on to tip number 2. Try to get rid of any distractions that might disrupt your attention. Now, Daniel Coleman, he mentioned 2 types of distractions. So basically sensory distraction and emotional distraction. Sensory distractions are straightforward. So things that you see in your environment, things that you smell and hear and read, for example, all those things can be distracting. So in terms of studying, try to study in a environment where you can zone out all those potential distractions. A little bit more difficult are emotional distractions. He wrote, "The biggest challenge for even the most focused, though, comes from emotional turmoil in our lives. For example, a recent breakup, or in my case, there was a very important topic that I needed to discuss with my dad last month, but I was kind of scared to talk about it, so I postponed it weeks and weeks and weeks. And during all those time, I couldn't really focus on my studies or anything because I kept those that topic in the back of my head, and eventually after that conversation, I felt a lot better, obviously, and I was able to focus again. Now, I know there are certain things that cannot be solved that easily, like family issues and whatnot, but what I have learned is try to focus on things that you actually can change yourself. So for example, you can decide how much effort you want to put into something. So go for it, and just instead of thinking about all those emotional things over and over again and getting depressed and whatnot. Tip number 3, use the Pomodoro Technique. I've talked about that before. It's basically before you study, you set a timer for 30-40 minutes, and then you only focus on that one activity at a time until you hear the alarm going off. You can take a break, and if you're feeling really good, you can do another session. Now, the thing here to understand is attention is limited. So there's no such thing as multitasking. What happens when you multitask is basically you rapidly switch your attention from one thing to another. And with every switch, you need energy, you need effort, and it tires you. So if you want to improve your learning, your studies, you need to focus on one thing at a time. For example, by using the Pomodoro Technique. Tip number 4, get into the flow. Flow, simply put, is a state of mind where you're so immersed into that one thing that you're doing that you zone out everything else. It's a huge topic, and I do intend to do a whole separate video on that, but for now, just a few tips. You can get into that flow state if you do something that you're really passionate about, or if you challenge yourself or your brain at the right level. Meaning, if I read a text in Japanese that is too easy, then it's not really challenging. But if it's too difficult, then it's not really encouraging. So you need to find that right level. That's why I said in the last video, it's important to know exactly what your current language level is. Tip number 3, find a coach or a mentor, because they can provide you feedback. For example, they know exactly, okay, this is your weakness, you should improve that. You could do this and this and that in order to get better. There are a few more other ways to achieve this flow state, but yeah, topic for another video. Tip number 5. Tip number 5, positivity. Coleman points out how vital it is for your motivation, because it gives you this sense that what you're doing is rewarding. He wrote, for example, the positive lens keeps the joy in practice and learning. The reason even the most seasoned athletes and performers still enjoy rehearsing their moves. You need the negative focus to survive, but a positive one to thrive. That's it for today's 5 tips on how to focus. I hope it was somewhat useful. If so, please subscribe for more videos and give us a thumbs up. And see you next time. Don't forget to challenge yourself.